Guys, what's going on? I'm Tim for the Real Sports Talk. You can find me on Twitter at CashKelly_TRST. It's with a K. This is day 26 of our MLB previews, and I'm going to be doing these for the next few days, and then I'm going to make our season preview videos probably Monday or Tuesday, maybe Sunday if things really go right, but probably Monday or Tuesday, so stay tuned for that. And I mean, I know that baseball season technically started, but the other day with the Mariners and the A's, but the MLB did such a poor job of marketing that most people don't even know that it started. So we're going to go with the Yankees today, a team that won 97 or 8 games last season, won the AL East, then lost in Game 5 to the Detroit Tigers as Alex Rodriguez swung and missed to end their season on a Jose Valverde strikeout, and Jose Valverde was just on fire. The one guy that we already kind of know is going to miss a decent amount of the season if he plays at all is Jabba Chamberlain. After coming off Tommy John surgery and missing most of last season, Chamberlain hurt himself the other week on his trampoline, so that shows you where his head has been pretty much his whole career. And quite frankly, I'm getting tired of hearing about all the potential he has since his rookie season, he's pretty much gone down every season. We are going to start at catcher with Russell Martin, who hit .237 with 17 home runs last season. This is a lineup that already has a lot of very good bats. The fact that his power came back up, that was nice, but they don't necessarily need him to hit for a high average. They need a strong catcher, and the fact that they were willing to trade away Jesus Montero shows that they believe Russell Martin is their catcher for the future. And with Jorge Posada retiring, he is going to get just about all the workload this season. And then you have Francisco Cervelli, who will also be the backup, or who will be the backup. In 43 games last year, he hit .266 with 4 home runs. And now that I think about it, Jorge Posada wasn't the backup last year. Cervelli was. Jorge Posada played DH for the most part. But with Cervelli, he's a nice backup. He can give you some decent time behind the plate, and he also is a decent bat. I mean, he doesn't blow you away or he'd be a starter, but he's a decent player, nothing special. At first base, you have Mark Teixeira, who is one of the best first basemen in the MLB, has really the last 2 seasons not been at the level that the Yankees have needed him as far as average. This is a guy that hit 300 a couple times with Texas and Atlanta and the Angels, and then hit .292 with 39 home runs and 122 RBIs his first season. And then the last 2 seasons he's hit .256 and .248. Now, fortunately for them, he's hit 33 home runs and 39 home runs, so it hasn't been that big of a deal. But you would still hope that he can get the average closer to the .290 mark than the .250 mark that he's been at for pretty much the last 2 seasons. And he is a notorious slow starter, so you also kind of hope that Mark Teixeira is able to have a quick start. But for power hitters, it takes a while for a lot of them to get going. If you look at Ryan Howard, that's kind of always been the deal with his career, is that it takes a while to get going, and then once you get going, that's in the summer when the ball flies better because of warmer weather. So I mean, that's kind of typical with power hitters. Backing him up at first base and also over at third base will be the backup is Eric Chavez. This guy was once one of the best third basemen in the MLB. Injuries kind of killed his career with the A's, but he's came back last season with the Yankees in 58 games, hit .263 with 2 home runs and 26 RBIs. He may also get some looks at DH if Raul Ibanez is struggling and they're facing a right-handed pitcher. But for the most part, he's in there defensively. At first base, he's really a solid backup first baseman. At third base, his range isn't quite what it used to be because of some of the injuries. He was once a very, very good fielder, though. The 2 guys you're really going to look at DH for the Yankees are Raul Ibanez and Andrew Jones. Ibanez comes over after 3 seasons in Philly. Before that has been with Seattle and Kansas City, and then Seattle again earlier in his career. He's not the Raul Ibanez that hit 34 home runs in 2009, but what he's basically going to bring the Yankees is about a .250 average. I think that the home runs will be about 23 this year because of playing in that short right field porch. Now, the one thing you do have to remember, though, is that he's not going to be playing nearly as many games as he did with the Phillies. And with some guys, I believe this is the first time that he's really been a full-time DH in his career. With some guys, it takes the adjustment to just be a hitter and not ever be going out in the field. Now, occasionally could he play in left field? Yeah, but he's not really a very good fielder, so I mean, that's not likely. And the Yankees have a strange left field, so it's not likely that you see a ton of time for Raul Ibanez in the field. So we'll see how that impacts him. Andrew Jones, another guy And I mean, Raul Baez was a very good player. Andrew Jones was a superstar. He had 51 home runs in 2005, 41 in 2006, and from there, every season after that, I mean, 2007 he still hit 26 home runs, but he hit 222. The bat speed just rapidly declined quickly, and the one thing that I always noticed with him is that he was kind of lazy. He let himself get out of shape. Now he's slimmed down a little bit, but in his years with the Dodgers and the Rangers and his late years in Atlanta, he really was not in very good shape. What he brings at this point is a very low average, but a guy who can step up there and give you some pop off the bench. But really, that's all you can hope for out of Andrew Jones at this point, because he's not going to bring you a ton other than that. He is still a pretty good fielder, but he's not, because of the shape that he's in, really a center fielder anymore. He's a nice backup right fielder as well. Robinson Cano, one of the best overall players in the MLB, is your starting second baseman, and I really cannot believe how far this guy has come over the past 3 seasons. I looked at him from 2005 to 2008, thought, you know, this guy's a really solid second baseman, but then in 2009 at 320 with 25 home runs, and I said, he's going to have to do it for me again. And then 2010 hit 319 with 29 home runs. I said, man, he's one of the better second basemen in the MLB. And then with some guys like Chase Utley falling off the map, Robinson Cano at this point, after hitting 302 with 28 home runs, is clearly the best second baseman in the MLB. One of the top 10, or actually probably one of the top 5 hitters in the game as an overall point. Not just as a power hitter, but as an overall hitter. If you can get a guy that hits you 320 pretty much every year and hits around 30 home runs, then he's one of the better hitters in the game. And the one thing that I've liked the last 2 seasons is that last season was that he did steal a few more bases. But Robinson Cano, very solid fielder, one of the best in the game right now. And at this point, if he continues to play like this, he's only 28 years old still, or 29, I believe actually. He could very well go to Cooperstown once his career is over. At shortstop, speaking of a guy who's headed straight there, Derek Jeter. There's a lot of questions. Last season only played 131 games, hit 297 with 6 home runs. At this point, I expect that Derek Jeter is going to hit about 300, but the power is just not there. I mean, and that's not to make it sound like Derek Jeter was ever a power hitter, but he's not going to do what he used to do, hit 320 with 20 home runs. That's not Derek Jeter anymore. His range at shortstop is not nearly what it used to be. I know everyone knows that like signature throw that he used to have out of the hole. You don't see that as much because he doesn't get too many of those balls anymore because of his range kind of decreasing. And that happens with all shortstops once they hit about 34, 35 years old. Derek Jeter, still pretty solid overall shortstop, but he's not the type of guy that you anchor your lineup around anymore the way the Yankees once did in the second year of a 3-year deal that he signed before last season. Eduardo Nunez is a solid backup, and some people believe could be the successor of Derek Jeter. Only 25 years old, will be 26 or 24 years old, will be 25 during the season. Last year, in 112 games, hit 265 with 5 home runs and 30 RBIs. I think he's a very, very good backup, and he would be a very mediocre starter, to be quite honest with you. But as a backup, I like Eduardo Nunez a lot, and he is going to be used because Derek Jeter is not going to play every game. Nunez can play third base as well. He can play some second base. So there's going to be chances for him to get other opportunities besides shortstop. So he is one of the better utility men in the game. A-Rod over at third base, another guy that there is a lot of questions about. For the first time in since 1998, and there was one season, 1997 was the only other time really in his big league career that he did not hit 30 home runs in his career until last season. Hit 16 home runs, hit 276 with 16 home runs. That was in 100 games. So you would tend to think even if he did play a full season, he's probably going to hit closer to 27, 28 home runs. So, I mean, it's not like that's bad. He's still one of the best third basemen in the MLB. And the one nice thing about A-Rod is that his range is just... He's going to be a very good third baseman for a long time because he's a natural shortstop. But the power is just not what it once was. And I don't know what the deal is. I don't know... what once maybe made that power as good as it was, how much that was natural, I really don't know. But what I do know is he's had a lot of problems staying healthy over the past few seasons. The most games he's played in a season over the past 3 years, or past 4 years really, is 120 or 138 games. If he can't play close to 140, 150 games, then the Yankees are really going to need Eduardo Nunez and Eric Chavez to play bigger roles in this team this year. Alex Rodriguez, I really don't know what to expect at him because the average isn't what it used to be. He used to be an over 300 hitter. And another thing I've noticed that he took out of his game, like his first 4 seasons in New York, he stole a lot of bases. You could count on 20 to 25 stolen bases. In the last few seasons, he has been caught more and he has not attempted nearly as many to steal nearly as many times. So I wonder exactly what's going on there. In left field, you have Brett Gardner, the leadoff man. I like Brett Gardner a lot. Numbers-wise, he doesn't give you a ton except for stolen bases. He's not a great hitter, but he's one of those like hustle guys that is a Yankee. You know, if that makes any sense. He has that like winning attitude, I think is the best way to put it. You have Raul Ibanez out there as a potential. You have Maxwell and Andrew Jones can play some left field as well. So you have a lot of guys that in that outfield that could give Brett Gardner a few days off. But for the most part, last year he played pretty much every game except for 3. In center field, you have Curtis Granderson. I believe he finished 3rd in MVP voting last year, if not 4th. And I was the person that said now, as we look over to the Yankees starting rotation, we'll start with CC Sabathia, one of the workhorses in the MLB, one of the best pitchers overall. Entering his 4th season with the Yankees, probably had his best overall season with the Yankees last season. Went 19-8 with a 3 ERA, 237 innings. He probably is never someone that's going to give you an ERA under 3. Most guys aren't in the MLB, but what he does give is a ton of innings. You kind of worry maybe someday that will catch up to him, but it doesn't look like that some days in the next 2 or 3 seasons. And he gives you about 20 wins in an ERA around 3 every season, and he's really in a Yankees rotation that's done a lot of shuffling over the last few seasons. He's been one of the constants, and he is easily one of the top 5 pitchers in the game right now. Hiroki Kuroda will come in as the number 2 starter. Went 13-16 last year with the Dodgers with a 3.07 ERA. Spent 4 years there. Every season his ERA went down. I don't know what to expect out of him moving to the AL East, because the AL East hitting wise and the NL West are like polar opposites, because the NL West is really, or the NL East is not a very good, or the NL West is not a very good hitting division. And the AL East, as we obviously know, is the best. He's going to give you a lot of innings and probably an ERA somewhere in the 3s. But there's a big difference between getting an ERA at 3.07, where you say, okay, this is a really solid number 2 starter, or 3.60 or somewhere in that area where you say, and we probably need to add another pitcher to shore up this rotation. Ivan Nova is the number 3 starter, went 16-4 with a 3.70 ERA. He looks very good. He's really young. The only issue that I would really have with him is the fact that he had such a big jump in his amount of innings thrown last season. But other than that, there's not really a ton to worry about with Nova. I think that he'll settle in and be fine and be a really solid number 3 starter for the Yankees for a long time to come. Michael Pineda, their big offseason acquirement, had a really impressive season at times last year with the Mariners. Went 9-10 with the 3.74 ERA. The numbers don't look great, but from what I saw and from what scouts have said, I mean, he has a filthy amount of filthy arsenal of pitches, and I think that he will. He can throw about 95 miles an hour. I think that he's going to be a very solid number. I think long term he'll be the number 2 starter for the Yankees. Phil Hughes will be the number 5 starter in all likelihood. There are a few other people competing. Hughes has really had a strange career. Was obviously a top prospect, but the only year he's really put it together was in the bullpen in 2009 with a few spot starts mixed in there. Went 8-3 with a 3.03 ERA. As a starter last year, he never really found it. 5-5 with a 5.79 ERA. So we'll see. He may end up doing fine, or he may end up just being a stopgap measure until either Andy Pettitte comes up. Andy Pettitte, who they bring back, he comes out of retirement, and all likelihood is going to make the team and going to get a chance to start. So we really don't know what to expect at him at age 40, having not played for a season. We'll see what happens. Or Freddie Garcia could very well win that position. Now, there's rumors that the Yankees are looking to trade Freddie Garcia because really it doesn't make sense to have 2 guys on your roster, and Andy Pettitte and Freddie Garcia, who can really only be starters and don't make a ton of sense in the bullpen. Garcia would probably make a little more sense in the bullpen, but the chances that the Yankees would just bring in Andy Pettitte and not keep him on the roster are very unlikely. So I think that Freddie Garcia probably will not finish the season as a Yankee. That's my guess, unless Phil Hughes really struggles. David Robertson had the best season of his career last year, was an all-star, went 4-0 with a 1.08 ERA, was probably the best right-hander in the MLB in 70 total games. I don't know if he'll do quite that good, but I think that he'll throw about 65 to 70 games and have an ERA in the low 2s, so he's one of the better relievers in the game right now. Rafael Soriano came over after having the best season of his career with the Tampa Bay Rays in 2010, saved 45 games, came over as the setup man for Mariano Rivera, and what many believed he would ultimately be the closer. Now, Rivera, many people think is going to retire at the end of the season. He's kind of hinted at that a few times. We'll see. But they do have a guy who's shown a lot of potential. The problem is, last season he did not have a very good year in his first season with the Yankees, and it's probably just adjusting the roles because he had health issues. Later on in the season last year, he came on strong. It's just a matter of getting comfortable, and I mean, the AL East is a tough division to pitch in, but he did it really well in 2010 with the Rays. Finally, Mariano Rivera, what needs to really be said? He's the greatest closer in the history of the MLB. Him and Trevor Hoffman are the greatest closers to ever play the game, and nothing to me looks like he couldn't pitch 5 more seasons. I don't think he's going to do that. I think he'll play this season and either retire or play 1 more year. But hands down, probably the best closer of all time. Really, the only season he's had that in his career over the past ever, really, in his career with an ERA over 2.5 was 2007 with a 3.15 ERA, but he's come back down since then. Last year at a 1.91 ERA, saved 44 games out of 49 attempts. You can't ask for a ton more than 49 attempts. So that is the Yankees season preview. I see them winning this division in all likelihood and making a run in the playoffs.